Mohamed? I think we'll start with the opening. Okay. Lady, gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the session on advancing the global green economy agenda from WIGI's 2025 milestone to WIGI's 2026 implementation. The World Green Economy Summit was built to turn climate ambition into economic opportunity at speed and at scale. Under the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of the UAE and ruler of Dubai, and led by the World Green Economy Organization in partnership with the Dubai Water and Electricity Authority and the Dubai Supreme Council of Energy, we have become a global platform for action. Today, I invite you to help us take the next decisive step. In 2025, we came together to share solutions and forge partnerships. In 2026, we will raise the bar from pledges to projects, from pilots to pipeline, from MOUs to megawatts. Our commitment is implementation, visible, measurable, investable implementation. WIGI's 2026 will zero in on what gets deals done and project delivered. Fast-tracking implementation with streamlined permitting, green public procurement, and stronger project preparation support. Operationalizing de-risking from guarantees and blended finance to result-based instruments that crowd in private capital, and strengthening MRV, measurement, reporting, and verification, with clear KPIs, milestone, and progress dashboards. Because what gets measured gets mobilized. Why now? Because the world has no time for incrementalism. It's time to act. Not later, not next, now. The green transition is no longer an option. It's the growth strategy of this century. Every year, we delay, costs rise, and opportunities fade. Every year, we accelerate, industries modernize, job multiplies, and community become more resilient. The World Green Economy Summit 2026 is also designed as a strategic bridge to COP31 and beyond, a place where government and partners report real progress, align policies, and mobilize finance for what works on the ground. Bring your updates, bring your lessons, bring your next wave's commitments. We will turn them into momentum that carries directly into the UN climate process. But success depends on widening the circle of leadership. So this year, we're expanding the WIGI's community, head of states and governments, to set the signals and unlock role of economy transition. Ministers, to advance the regulatory and fiscal tools that speed deployment. Business and finance leaders, to scale what works in real places for real people. And let's not forget youth and innovators, to challenge us, to co-create, and to lead with urgency and imagination. Because this is how we will win. A whole of society, a whole of economy, and a whole of a planet. Here are the messages I want you to carry into WIGI's 2026. Implementation is the new credibility. De-risking unlocks scaling. MRV is our compass. Inclusion drives innovation. To our partners across government and industry, bring your bankable pipeline. Tell us what policy signals will move billions to trillions. Standardized power purchase agreement, predictable carbon pricing, clear permitting. To our NDBs and DFIs, bring your risk mitigation tools and your appetite for speed. To our startups and university, bring the breakthroughs that make rings the default choice. And to young leaders, this is your summit too. Your energy, creativity, and insistence on urgency are not welcome. They are essentials. The World Green Economy Organization is committed to ensure that WIGI's 2026 is a summit of solutions, signatures, and shovels in the ground. We will showcase policy innovation, fast-track projects, and new partnerships that deliver clean electrons, cleaner industry, and efficient mobility, while creating jobs and resilience for our people. Time to act, time to invest, time to implement. Join us on board to the World Green Economy Summit 2026, where commitments become contracts, KPIs become progress, and the green economy becomes the global economy. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Jerome, for that very interesting and exciting introduction of this event. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, thank you for joining us here at the COP30, a crucial juncture in our global climate journey with World Green Economy Organization. As we stand on the threshold of a new phase of climate action, from ambition to accountability, from pledges to progress, it is my honor and privilege to present the VGO's 2025 key highlights, the key milestones and implementation updates, and to set the stage for what will be the defining moment of 2026. VGO 2026, where commitments become concrete actions. Under the visionary patronage of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and the Prime Minister of UAE and ruler of Dubai, led by World Green Economy Organization in strategic partnership with DEWA, the Dubai Spring Council of Energy, and the World Green Economy Summit, have evolved into world's premier platform for translating climate ambition into economic reality. VGO 2025, a turning point in climate implementation. VGO's 2025 was not just another action, but it was a catalyst. Over 12,000 participants from over 140 countries, including 85 ministers, 300 CEOs, 50 UN agencies, gathered in Dubai to move beyond rhetoric. The outcomes were tangible, the momentum was irreversible. Just to highlight key milestones of 2025 of VGO, obviously the key milestones, the first major milestone was the Regional Green Economy Forum. This high-level forum was convened with governments, leaders, city officials, and key partners to advance regional cooperation, share knowledge, and develop actionable solutions for carbon neutral and urban development in Morocco, in Tangier. Um, the other key highlight was Green Tech Hackathon. Together, the startups, SMEs, and youth. The virtual event was followed by an announcement and the winners of the video wages to provide them an opportunity to present their solutions during this event. The other key major milestone was Global Water, Energy and Climate Change Congress. As part of VGO 2025, it was convened as a ministerial roundtable on sustainable water and energy transition, innovating for a secure future, bringing together ministers from Gulf cooperation, and it was also moderated by VGO, a roundtable which gathered a key knowledge around the region as to how to enhance the progress on climate action with regard to climate, water, and energy. Obviously, the most notable one was the World Green Economy Summit, which is a global forum hosted by World Green Economy Organization and the Dubai Electricity and Water Authority, DEWA, and the Dubai Supreme Council on Energy. There were a number of activities: ministerial roundtable, green circles, finance and investments roundtable, women in green economy, academia and research symposiums, green cities dialogue, youth roundtables, innovation hub, and startup showcase, and most notably, capacity building workshops, bilateral meetings, and obviously the networking. These are some of the key highlights of the World Green Economy Summit. The major engagement of this year is obviously the engagement of WGO at COP30 here. The major pillars were, of course, ambition and policy leadership, finance and investments, technology, innovation and data-driven solutions, local and regional actions. WGO has also engaged with key Global Alliance members is to engage them on building their capacity in enhancing implementation of their NDCs. I'm also pleased to inform that on a regular basis, WGO experts have been engaging in project preparation for enhancing the NDCs. WGO has also engaged in a number of member countries in preparation of their third NDCs in 2025, which has resulted in number of NDCs which was submitted by September to UNFCCC. So we continue to engage with the member countries in also in formulating projects. Obviously, projects to be submitted for the private sector, which WGO has always extended their helping hand in mobilizing the private sector finance, providing the equity to a level that would attract the kind of private investments for member countries in enhancing climate action across the globe. So these are some of the major milestones that we have engaged. We continue to engage from here to COP31. Hopefully, we're still yet to hear where is going to be COP31. But also, I'm also pleased to inform that we are going to move from Tangier to another part in Asia. Hopefully, that is also going to be announced soon by the management of the WGO, most likely in South Asia, but which is going to be again the translation of the concepts to more investment opportunities in the area. So these are some of the key major milestones that we have engaged since 2025, and we look forward to engaging more constructively with the member countries as to how we can translate these concepts into more actionable projects and proposals. Thank you very much. Happy to respond to any questions. Thank you.
Bon dia, morning everyone, good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished colleagues, thank you for the opportunity for the UNFCCC to speak here today. It's a pleasure as always to join you as we look ahead to the World Green Economy Summit in 2026 and reflect on how we can translate the decisions taken here at COP30 into visible, measurable progress on the ground. So we all know COP30 is an implementation COP. The world is demanding concrete progress, delivery, and partnerships that can turn commitments into action. This very same spirit is the core of the preparations of WEJIS 2026. And the focus of this next edition of the summit will support shifting firmly towards execution, ensuring that political signals decisions, and cooperative frameworks agreed here in Belém will translate into real projects, real financing, and real impact. The collaboration between the UNFCCC Secretariat and the World Green Economy Organization has been steady, constructive, and rooted in shared understanding that ambition only matters when it leads to implementation. Over the past years, our partnership with the WGO through the Regional Collaboration Center for MENA and South Asia has proven its practical value in supporting countries and institutions of the region to move from planning to delivery. Together, we have helped countries refine sectoral pathways, strengthen transparency systems, and explore cooperative approaches under Article 6. Among other work, and we have done this consistently with the WGO, not as one-off engagements, but as ongoing structured collaboration. RCC MENA and South Asia, which we jointly established, has become an essential channel for advancing climate action in the region that faces both important vulnerabilities and tremendous opportunities. It has enabled smoother cooperation between governments, financial institutions, cities, and the private sector actors. And it has given countries a direct line to technical assistance, capacity building, and support in their efforts to implement the Paris Agreement. So this partnership works because the UNFCCC and the WGO bring something complementary to the table. The WGO provides a platform that connects policy ambition with investment, and it mobilizes political and private sector engagement. The UNFCCC brings the technical expertise and clarity on how national and regional efforts fit into the global climate architecture. Together, we ensure that actions taken today are not isolated initiatives, but part of a coherent path toward implementation. So as we prepare for WIDGES 2026, this cooperation becomes even more relevant. The coming year will be defined by how well we can support countries in turning COP30 outcomes into project pipelines, financing structures, and strengthened monitoring systems. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Sorry for that. But it's not just our MENA and South Asia Regional Collaboration Center in which we're collaborating with the WGO, but we're bringing to our collaboration our entire regional collaboration network of all 6 RCCs globally. And it is with this that we will continue to be the backbone of this work for the countries. And across that, being with the work of WIDGES, helping ministries develop NDCs and long-term strategies, formulate NAPs, their national adaptation plans, and participate in Article 6 mechanisms, and or submit their BTRs and more. So looking ahead to WIDGES 2026, the UNFCCC cooperation with WGO and the WIDGES Summit offers 3 clear advantages. First, continuity. We are not starting from scratch. We have a strong record, as I've said, of joint delivery. Second, credibility. Countries recognize that the partnership we have brings both political visibility and technical depth, 2 elements of a very effective implementation strategy. And third, we have the reach. Whether it's through the MENA and South Asia region with our RCC or the other RCCs in which they're involved, we have a diverse, dynamic, and pivotal global progress. The bottom line is that the RCC will work and mobilize a full network of other partners to assist and enable governments as they move from commitments to concrete action. The WIDGES platform and the WGO's wider network offers an opportunity to bring these efforts to scale by aligning the themes of the WIDGES 2026 with the implementation priorities emerging from this COP here in Belém. We can reinforce a very clear message that countries not only know what to do, but they have partners ready to implement and get it done. This is the type of synergy that delivers real impact, impact that can be measured, financed, and replicated. So as we look towards COP31 in the next cycle of implementation, we will continue to deepen this collaboration. The task ahead is demanding, and it calls for the same pragmatic, reliable, and results-oriented approach that we have been taking. Thank you, and I look forward to our discussions ahead as we build a strong bridge from COP30 to WIDGES 2026 and beyond. Thank you.
So, can I kindly ask the panel to come forward? I think Pablo, if I'm correct. Dr. Alnud. No, I do an intro from here. So we are waiting for two more panel members. One is on his way, kindly inform us, and another one, two, three more on his way. Okay, so another one will be on his way as well. So I was asking also to give her some quick introductory remarks. I do believe that what we heard this morning, before from Jeroen, from Amjad and James, already covered some of my points, which is wages has kind of evolved. It started and has been an incredible tool to bring key people, key stakeholders together in Dubai for 2-3 days to discuss. So its convening power has been demonstrated in the last 10 years. I think has been had an important role also to help these stakeholders to learn about COP. I attended a few events and I remember James and others brought people to help to understand what is Article 6 and disease and so on. I think that function has been totally and well delivered. But as has been said today, in few occasions now, wages is helping us, is helping the climate change community to move towards implementation. And the focus initially will be this year in 2026 to mobilize finance, to have more bankable projects, to have more capacity, to have more pipelines of such projects. And that brings me to what will be my first question for our panel today. So let me quickly introduce the panel itself. We have Dr. Alud Aljai, which is Assistant Undersecretary for the Green Development and Climate Change at the Ministry of Environment of UAE. So we are really honored to have you here. And as I was saying, my first question is very much related to green projects. So it will be very interesting for us as a sharing experience to understand what the government of the United Arab Emirates is doing to help to bring, to foster new projects. Thank you, Dr. Arnold.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be speaking in this panel. The UAE has been launching a number of projects when it comes to the green growth and to net zero. We have a net zero by 2050 strategy. And along with that, we look at two angles. We look at the green growth agenda. We have targets to expand our to balance between the growth that we have, the development that we have in the UAE in terms of the economy and also in terms of the well-being and the environmental aspects. So we have a lot of projects where we do a lot of assessment on the progress and the levels of the different pollutants, whether the air pollutants or the greenhouse gases. Along with that, under the air pollutants agenda, we have created partnerships with other local governments within the UAE and also across the private sector to look at the sources of air pollutants and create a strategy that will balance off between the levels of air pollutants and the different growth pathways that we have. On the other angle, we also launched this year our MRV system, and the MRV system, the monitoring, reporting, and verification system, does not only look at the traditional way of just looking at greenhouse gases, but we have also incorporated air pollutants into the system itself, so that we have a baseline and we have a way forward in assessing how our legislations, how our policies, how our strategies and actual implementation of the standards we set for air pollutants are also helping us in reaching levels that are adequate or levels that are considered best standards, so that we ensure the well-being of our community.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your very comprehensive answer. We've been drawing now. I would like to stay on the government side before we go to our colleagues from GGI. So we've been joined by Robert Sangori, which is Deputy Director at the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and and Urban Management of Kenya. So Robert, before you came, we discussed about green projects, bankable projects, and other opportunities to channel finance into projects in your own country. So we'd like to know what is the Kenya experience in this, how you are promoting such type of projects, what have you done, what are your recommendations for such activity?
Thank you. I appreciate being in this panel and the conversation that is there in terms of connecting the various conversations. I know the World Green Economy Summit was held just recently, and the rich conversation that were there, including the local government dialogue table that involved the various mayors, governors, where interventions are taking place at the grassroots, which then takes the national government policies into action. So that was a good bridge, and connecting that with what now we are having here in COP is really giving good, the connection that is needed from my perspective. And to your question, therefore, in terms of the role of the government and the various actions which are being taken. Now, I look at this in terms of, the policy frameworks and the regulatory frameworks, which then guide the interventions that then entrenches the key components of, having entrenching the green economy perspectives, having the various resilience and adaptation mechanisms also within the framework of development interventions. But focusing on our work program in terms of the cities' development pathways, I would then look at the various regulatory processes that are there. In Kenya, we have, for instance, after the new constitution, we have the devolved government system. And so for the devolved government system, we are operating under two main, regulatory frameworks: the National Urban Development Policy and the Urban Areas and Cities Act. The Urban Areas and Cities Act then give us the leeway or the platform to establish urban institutions and strengthen their operations. And so when we talk of how to implement the national government policies, then they are being done within the framework of the 47 county governments in Kenya. But at the same time, we have further decentralization in the form of the urban institutions. So we, through the Urban Areas and Cities Act of 2019, revised in 2019, 2011, but revised in 2019, we are looking at urban definition into four categories: cities, municipalities, towns, and market centers. And so our role at the national government, we are working with the county government to establish and strengthen the urban institutions. So this urban institution, therefore, finds a way with which they implement the policies at the grassroots level. And so with the strengthened and enhanced capacities, then the projects are able to be implemented. So we have two programs which are critical when we talk of the green growth at the city level. The national affordable housing program, which is the call of our president, President Ruto, President William Ruto. The call for affordable housing program is key, and this has been demonstrated recently when we were at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly, where our president galvanized the global community to rally behind the global championship for affordable housing. So in terms of interventions and packaging the projects, we work together with the private sector, the developers, who then are part and parcel of the implementation of the affordable housing program across the country. The other program that we then also look at is the building climate resilience with urban poor. So in the climate change conversation, we are looking at how then to look at the rollout, of course, development and the rollout of the building climate resilience with urban poor, which look at 6 key areas. One is hotspot mapping of the vulnerable urban areas in terms of subjecting them into risk, climate risk and vulnerability assessment for targeted interventions at the local level. But again, we're looking also at the planning process. Most of the urban poor keep an ecologically fragile ecosystem. So how then do we look at the aspect of planning, so that then brings the issue of mitigation and adaptation upfront. But then again, the issue of resilient infrastructure is very critical, and resilient urban basic services, which then connects the dots at the areas where they already exist. Then the aspect of the green urban economy, livelihood strategies, green jobs, and all this, these are then also looked at in terms of empowerment side of it. Because once the affordable housing are done, if the urban poor or the vulnerable communities don't have the capacity to pay the houses, then they still will not be, affordable as would be then perceived. But then economic perspective for these people is then critical. Then of course the issue of NDC urban dimension, how then do we strengthen the database of the greenhouse gas emission arising from the best practices from these practices, and of course the governance infrastructure, which connects the national government, local government to the urban institutions and the stakeholders and the beneficiaries is critical in this. So all this frame is looked at within the broader framework of the building climate resilience with urban poor. And so the last thing I wanted to say is that how then we get involved with the World Green Economy Organization in this process. This is the the platform which we are looking at enhancing our relationship, cooperation and partnership with the World Green Economy Organization and partners to see how then we do the rollout. And we connect this with what came out in COP29. Again, I'll repeat this, that in COP29, the World Green Economy Organization chairman launched the decarbonizing cities, around 11 cities, of which Kenya has one of them, Homa Bay municipality, which is part of that. But again, we reiterated in that meeting that BICRAP has invited 20 African countries to be part of its piloting stage. So we are also looking at how then to cascade the best practice arising from the work of the decarbonized cities, from the 11 cities to across the 20 African countries that have become part of BICRAP implementation process. Of course, then this will be scaled up and replicated at the global level, because BICRAP is a global initiative. So this is how we are looking at the engagement that we are having with the WGO and with the partners, and looking at the impact that we want to see, such that when it comes to the next phase cycle of the World Green Economy Summit in 2026, then we have tangible, intervention and impactful, documentation of impacts that we have created, which then we shall be presenting at the next cycle of the WGS in 2026. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robert Sangori. I really like your intervention for 3 reasons. One, of course, we went into very specific examples of what the government of Kenya is doing in terms of promoting investment or promoting also climate change measures. I like also because, of course, you mentioned WGO and some of their activities they're doing. So it was a very good promotion of WGO, and some of these actually mentioned around the world. While you were talking, you could see some of them, in particular supporting the cities. And the third part, you mentioned Wages 2026. Indeed, one of the elements of Wages 2026 is just not to be 2 days, but to be a process that starts very, very soon, with a lot of intervention, a lot of engagement, a lot of projects, and then are promoted or discussed as a landing zone, let's say, in next year in Dubai. I think it's in October 2026. But we know that many of these activities in many countries happen thanks to international organizations that support governments. And today we have here Mr. Pablo Martinez. If I'm correct, you are country representative of GGI in
Uganda, Zambia, and Angola.
in Uganda. Thank you so much. And Pablo, I think the question for you is, we heard a lot from two governments about an incredible amount of activities that are delivered. But these require, and this was also mentioned in the morning, very strong monitoring system, monitoring verification system, MRV, and of course KPI. This has been mentioned a few times. What are you doing as a GGI in supporting governments or independently to bring these, let's say, MRV schemes or any other schemes you have?
Thank you for the question. So in GGI, we work as trusted advisors to the governments. We support governments in building their own systems and creating that ownership for these MRV systems, and also project development and other enabling aspects. So, for example, if we talk about MRV systems, we try to support these member countries in developing systems that comply with the requirements of the Paris Agreement, but that also respond to the specific policy frameworks and tools that they have in place and that they want to develop. So we work hand in hand with them in terms of identifying what the specific gaps are, what the capacity building needs are, and based on that is that we develop projects, we develop approaches to support that ownership and that capacity building of the countries. I mean, some examples of that actually is we were one of the partners that supported the UAE in the development of the MRV greenhouse gases, and I'm very happy to hear as well on the pollutants as well, MRV system. I was actually in UAE about 10 years ago, speaking and talking about air pollution, creating synergies between the work that we were doing in Mexico. So I'm really happy to see that there. And also at the city level, so we're also supporting Abu Dhabi on the same approach. Maybe it's also good and now in Zambia, we're also supporting an integrated MRV system that also streamlines the data acquisition and the reporting process for the country. Maybe one other thing to highlight is the work that we do with the ministries of finance. In GGI, we work very closely together with many ministries, but I would say that two of the ministries that we work very closely together are the ministries of environment, the ministries of finance. So this is about MRV systems on greenhouse gases, creating those capacities, but also then linking them with the work that goes at the planning and the mobilization of finance. And I think MRV, in terms, when we talk about MRV in finance, that's also a key aspect that we support. Maybe an example of this is in Uganda and other countries now, we have helped establish a climate finance units. So these are dedicated units that supports the mobilization of climate finance, but also the integration of climate finance risks and the integration of tools that support the tracking of green and climate finance. So in these toolkits, we support the development of green taxonomies. We support the development of climate change budget tagging, which is also key elements to support SMEs, the private sector, the financial sector, governments in terms of tracking the mobilization of climate finance. And this just supports the capacity building and the strengthening of countries to understand where climate finance flows go, where are gaps, and what opportunities for synergies exist as well to finance these gaps.
Thank you so much, Pablo, for these very comprehensive answers. Now we have a bit of a time issue because I know some of you need to go negotiating and helping to bring it to an end this COP. But let's have a last question, which will be the same for all of you, before we give time 5 minutes for the audience to ask questions to you. But the last question is a bit a difficult one, because we said that the wages really aims in 2026 to showcase as much as possible concrete action, real action, tangible action. So my question to all of you, and I will start from Your Excellency, would be, uh, one example of an activity, a new activity that you are planned to come to fruition in the next 6 months, 7 months, that you can actually bring to wages and showcase there? Get your phone.
So don't worry about it. So in the UAE, we have the Prime Minister's office that is responsible for looking after the strategies that are coming from the different entities at the federal level. And the same model is also there for the local governments. So we are very lucky in terms of the governance structure that we have. We have strategies that has KPIs under projects that are basically the roadmap of implementation. So we always have a pathway and a direction of where we're going. So in terms of, I'll just take two examples, in terms of green growth and also in terms of Article 6 and the carbon markets and the carbon registry. So now we launched our MRV in October, just last month. And the cycle for the different sectors, the private sector and the different players in the industry is to start using the system in December, and the cycle will close in quarter 1 of next year. So the target is to have our first calculation of the inventory coming from the MRB system in quarter 2 of 2026. Back in the day, we used to do it manually. We used different systems, but now we have a system, that the MRB system, that will create the first inventory coming out of the MRB system. On the other hand, we also are working on the carbon register to understand how much carbon we have in the industry that wants to be mobilized, and we are working on launching a pilot of the register in quarter 2 of 2026. So these are main highlights that are coming up for us in the UAE.
So we will wait you for wages 2026 for showcasing all this. We have been joined by panelists. I will repeat the question for you, but first we continue just not to stop the train of thought. So, now to you, Pablo, an example that you will showcase in 2026 the wages.
I mean, in GGI, while we love to work on the enabling environment, on policies and tools, we really do, and we think it's quite important, and capacity building, we're also restless, and we like to do projects. We want to see concrete action. So maybe some examples of where of some of these things happening in Uganda, for instance, and maybe East Africa. We have been working on the development of eco parks for Uganda, looking at wetlands and how we can have eco parks that support city wetlands in terms of their sustenance to an economic activity. So that has progressed quite well. We are very close to securing finance, and we hope to see the first eco parks, specifically in Kampala and Barara as well. We are also very close to finalizing a concept note as well with East Africa community, specifically with 3 countries, Uganda, Rwanda, and DRC Congo, on the greater Virunga area. So specific interventions that support actions there. Again, I think we have a pipeline, and we're always key to ensure that we strike a balance between the policy capacity building that we do and just developing specific projects and instruments that support action at scale.
Thank you so much, Pablo. Again, very important concept you add also to your point about scalability and other issues. So thank you so much. I think this panel is really bringing up a lot of issues. Maybe, Robert, before we go to you, let's go to our latest panelist, Mr. Mohamed Ibu, which is an advisor to the, well, first of all, you have been attending wages for many, many years. You are a veteran of wages. Yes, yes. And recently you supported the regional forum that was held in Morocco with your organization. The focus here is trying to understand projects that can be showcased next year to Wager 2026. Wager 2026 will be the wages of implementation or even opportunity, where we will be focused on bankable projects. And I think already in Morocco last July we started that kind of focus. Let's bring projects to on the plate, on the pipeline. So, Mr. Ibu, any recommendation, any suggestion on how your organization will be attending Wages 2026, and what projects are you going to showcase?
Okay, thank you very much. I think that the war of climate change will be won or lost in the cities. And I think in the last summit of WTO, we commit one declaration of Tangier. And this declaration, I think that we must move from commitment to the implementation process. And this implementation process, I think that we already have 11 cities in Africa that commit to have neutral carbon cities. And I think when we talk about neutral city, we talk about energy transition. And in these cities, and we are talking about how to move to action, because right now, these cities, these 11 cities, pilot cities right now, is preparing one portfolio about how to move to this objective. But what is the first step for these 11 cities is to have the mapping of the emission of this 11 cities, and to see what is the sector, the project that can be driving these neutral cities in these 11 private cities. I think that we must demonstrate that we are moving from commitment to the implementation process regarding these pilot cities. This is why I think that the next summit must connect the both, and also to bring this Tangier declaration to the concrete action in the ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ibu. That's very important. Oh, you can hear me. So, Robert, you are the last. So I'm not sure if I want to buy a ticket next year to go to Dubai and come to the summit. Convince me why I should come, what Kenya will showcase to make me really wow, I'm coming. So, Robert, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Luca. Looking at the partnership I'm already seeing in this room, of course, I saw UNFCCC, I've seen UAE government, I've seen WGO, I've seen UCLG Africa. I'm seeing, a whole lot of, partners who then, when we work together, then we have something to demonstrate to the world at the next phase of, World World Green Economy Summit. But what I wanted to bring out in terms of that partnership, because in the spirit of, SDG 17, which then talks of partnership and cooperation, then we are able to get the means of implementation that we are looking towards in terms of financing, technology transfer, and of course capacity building to support the packaging of the bankable projects out of the framework that we have already described of the building climate resilient with debt and poor at the city level. And so with that connection, as we look forward to the next phase, and why I should then talk about it, the WGO invited the President of Kenya to the 2025 summit in Dubai, and the President of Kenya was represented by the Minister of Energy and Petroleum in the forum. And so from the commitment that was already given, we already, have already committed to see how we work together. And this is why I'm talking about partnership and cooperation, so that we package the key elements. We have already defined the various and adaptation measures that arises from the intervention that we are speaking about, and packaging them and presenting them. Of course, we'll start honest even before the 2026 forum, as you already mentioned, towards the end of the year. This is a partnership that starts from today. And as it starts from today, we are moving into action. I've already received an email from WGO yesterday on how we can start packaging projects. And so already I'm talking about action, which my friend Marsh talks about, and which people are talking about action, action, action. How do we move forward? So that is the call that I'm saying we are in action, and we are going to do it through partnership to package the tangible, bankable projects which will find scale in the next phase of World Green Economy Summit.
Thank you so much. I think this has addressed some of the issue. I know the time is a bit of an issue today because of the negotiation, but there is any question from the audience to our panel? Yes, please. We come to you.
Thank you. Thank us for all of you. Actually, it's for your comprehensive information which you already delivered. I am Ayman Rafai from Egypt. I am covering Article 6 on behalf of the Egyptian delegation. My question here, as you know, what chance that Morocco and Egypt and UAE are three countries owns now the biggest solar plants all over the world almost. But actually, I enjoyed the encouragement of the renewable energy enhancement and whatever. But what about the challenge of carbon credits pricing? Yesterday, it was the whole global goal in, targeting $2 trillion for renewable energy. And that's the time it was a carbon credits pricing that attractive and could be considered as covering a part of the feasibility study for this project at that time. But now it doesn't cover anything. We are not talking about short-term investment. We are talking about long-term investment. So I think we have to find a way or another, especially most of these projects already implemented in developing countries and targeting developing countries. From our side, actually, we are depended on triple P, PPP, public-private partnerships. So we have to ensure for any investor, he have to come. Or on the other hand, it will be extra burden on the national budget to cover the cost of selling prices for the electricity by the end of the day. So do you have any alternatives or something to ensure, because it's very hard for the developing country to carry out this such kind of risk? Thank you very much.
Would you like to answer, or maybe some of you, Robert, and then we can pass the microphone for.
From the question I will say for Egypt, yes, your question I will relate with the project that I'm describing. Just to mention that we are looking at a whole range of meeting the financing gap. And of course, from the internal process of the internal, revenue systems at the country level to the external resource mobilizing, and external resource mobilization now targets the private sector, where the PPP models comes in. But again, we are also looking at how then we tap into the climate finance. So we know the whole regime of the climate finances, from the Green Climate Fund, the JF Adaptation Fund, loss and damage just being the new kid in the block, and of course others. I know in COP28, the EU government and other actors launched the Altera Fund. So all these funds, they're there. How then do we tap into them? Of course, they're now from the private sector side, and of course part of the climate conversation, the carbon, carbon credit as part of interventions also comes in. So these are all issues of capacity again, on how to solve the process of accessing such finances to support the programs that we are dealing with. Because I'm thinking about program budget process, which then comes into the project direct. So all these are forms of finances that are there, but how to tap them boils about to the capacity again on in-country processes to tap into that and solve the challenges, the tedious processes that are sometimes associated with the conversation that we have. That's the reaction that I could have at this point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert. Anyone else want to briefly add anything?
I mean, I think maybe from my perspective as a development partner, uh, one key aspect I think that is that we see emerging and that it seems to be working for some countries is having an integrated approach led by the ministries of finance. So again, using the example of climate finance units, now that, for example, in Uganda we helped establish, now other countries are following suit as well and are establishing climate finance units. That is bridging the gap between different ministries and ministries of finance. And ministries of finance need to be part of that conversation because that's where planning and that's where money is channeled. So also when we talk about carbon finance, there's many aspects in terms of Article 6, there's many things that need to happen. We are working as many partners in terms of enabling those markets. It's a long process, but they are coming. So in places that have taken those steps, they're slowly coming. But it's not a silver bullet. It's not going to solve everything. It is a matter. I mean, the best thing is really to mobilize private sector, the internal market. That makes a big difference. And using the scarce international climate finance as catalytic, no? So I think that's where really an integrated approach led by ministries of finance. When we see that, we start to see a change. Just a very quick example, in East Africa community, there is a forum that we hold every 6 months, led by Uganda, by Rwanda, in terms of convening the directors of finance of East Africa countries. So that includes, for instance, Kenya. And there is a rich knowledge exchange of experience between the countries in terms of how they are approaching climate finance. And you'll see that more and more the ministries of finance are the ones that are also attending these meetings and building that capacity and taking a lead.
Actually, that's what I meant. To put extra burden on the national budget for these countries, and instead of using the feasibility study as a carbon credit part of this feasibility study, or ensuring the stability of the price and the cost of OPEX and the COPEX.
Yes, quickly. I want just to bring private sector. I think that it is very, very important to mobilize capital climate finance in the process. And also when we talk about the financing gap, we have also to talk about the project gap also. Because regarding Africa, for example, we are talking about idea of project, not the project. And this is why it is very difficult to link the project to the finance, because the idea is not financing project. And this is why I think that in WGO, we are partnership with GGGDI to help this these pilot cities to strengthening the project and to be bankable project, because there are a big gap between idea project and bankable project in Africa. This is why we are partnership with GGGI to support the project and also to bring private sector. I think that private sector must be in the process, because even the new cycle of Paris Agreement call for more integrated climate private sector, but also local government in the process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ibu. We have to close here. I understand there are more sessions, but I think we could have stayed here for 2 or 3 hours. It was so great, the interest and the quality, of course, of our panelists. We are very grateful. We really went into practical example. We all learned something, and definitely we are on a very good start for Wages 2026. So you convinced me, I will buy my ticket and come next year to Dubai to attend the summit. So if nobody has anything to add, let me again thank you again and see you next year. Thank you, Excellency. I think they want to take a photo, maybe just briefly.